This morning, I don't have a test or an exam for you, but what I am going to do, this is not something, it's not a brain teaser of any sort, but I decided this morning instead of pumping you with more knowledge, more information, we want to ask a recap. For the past 3 to 4 weeks, we have been talking about inspired small church ministry, guidance for implementing a vibrant ministry in a small church. One of the key points are some key things, or even one thing that you will learn from the classes that has been taught. We look on the best perspectives, we look on some principles and practices, we look on the dynamics of a small church and why it would remain small. We look on the word of being stuck, and the other word, we are not stuck, but we are what?
Stagnant.
No, it's the opposite of stuck. If you are not stuck, if a small church is small, consists of
strategic.
Strategic, right? If you are not stuck, once you are doing what God is doing, you are strategic. You are being strategic. So we are here, we are small, sometimes 15, 20, 24, thereabout, and we are still serving God. We are visiting the sick. Alright? We are praying for those who are sick. We are reaching to the lost somewhere or the other. It could be on the internet. So even though you are small, you are strategic, you can have a ministry of what? We talk about certain ministries where we can tap in. A ministry of what? Benevolence. That's a ministry. Okay? We have a ministry of helping the poor or feeding the poor. Brother Bobby could have a neighbor that is down on his or her luck. And you realize and said, "Oh, can I help? Do you need some food? Do you need some grocery?" That is a ministry. You might not say, "Hey, I'm from the Church of Christ and I'm from Pangburn," and you don't have to preach a message to offer Jesus, because what you are offering is something kind. It's out of God's love and affection while you're doing these things, and you don't have to open your mouth sometimes to be effective. Alright, so small and being strategic, evangelism. What else we learn? Is there anything that jumps out on you? I said a whole heap of stuff. A lot of stuff I said. There's one thing I said, I want you to be reminded. Remember I said something about close it. That it is a grow it or close it. It's a false dichotomy. You remember that? Numerical growth is not the sole interest or purpose or focus. That's just one aspect of it. Alright? So grow it or close it should not be in the forefront of our minds. Okay? I know some people said, okay, yes, let the church, that branch die a natural death. And what? Okay? Some people, yes, sometimes that happens, circumstances. When Katrina hit New Orleans, there was this black American preacher, mostly black persons went there, and it wiped out what? Everything. That's natural evil, disaster. He didn't have any intention to close it. Something else did. You understand what I'm saying? But it wasn't his intention. A disaster can occur and scatter the sea. What happened when 9/11 hit? Not 9/11, I'm so sorry. I don't know why 9/11 happened in my head. But COVID. What happened when COVID hit? You know that there are people who are still, churches that are still reeling from the effects of COVID. Because a lot of members believe that, oh, it's so convenient to.
It's fearful.
That's one of them too. But in the recovery process now, there are some members who are still believe that it's convenient to watch church from the confines and the comforts of their what? Their living rooms. Yes, their living rooms. It's so comfortable. I don't have to get up and go worship. You know. All right. So, I personally, I have a gift of serving. Can anybody identify their gifts? What gifts that God has given you naturally, and you can matriculate or turn that into a ministry? Have you ever identified such a gift?
I've tried one, I guess. I have taken care of kids ever since.
Yeah.
I was old enough to take care of kids.
Yeah.
I hauled them to school.
Yeah.
I raised my kids in church.
Yes.
I raised my great niece and nephews in church.
Yes.
So I mean, and then my great nephews, I kept them in church. So that to me is a ministry. I pointed them in the right direction.
Yes. That is a great ministry. And what you find, do you find other kids want to follow you? Have you ever found other kids want to attach themselves to you because...
Oh yes, of course.
Yes. Yes.
I'm needy.
Yeah. So that's what...
we're working on our great grandkids. So.
Yeah. So that's what's going to happen.
To me, that is a ministry. That is a good ministry.
Oh yes. The Bible talks about this, I think, in Timothy and in Titus, when it talks about the older women encouraging the younger women, and also the kids. Most of the we see Eunice and Timothy. You remember Timothy? Eunice, Timothy's grandmother raised him and taught him a lot of stuff in the gospel. Yes. Let me find that. So, what that is a ministry within itself.
Yeah, and COVID messed a lot of that up.
Yeah.
Because my great nephews, I was taking them to church every Wednesday.
Yeah.
For classes. And like you said, COVID hit and it messed a lot of things up.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so Lois was the grandmother, Lois, was the grandmother of Timothy, and along with her granddaughter Eunice. So in 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 5, where the author writes to Timothy, I am reminded of your sincere faith. 2 Timothy 1:5, of your sincere faith, of faith that dwelt first in your grandmother, Lois, and your mother, Eunice, and now I'm sure dwells in you as well. So you see that? You see that? Yeah. So his grandmother, the grandmother and mother of Timothy, taught him some valuable things that followed him into ministry. And that was their ministry Those women instilled God in Timothy, and it followed him in his adulthood, where he could translate it in the ministry of serving God's people in God's kingdom. Okay? And a small church is not a time to panic. I know at times when we have our financial difficulties, we are going through stress, we are diagnosed with stuff, and we feel like our world is tumbling down and crashing around us. But as a small church, we have resources. Can you identify those resources among you? There you go. You are my resources, I am your what? Resources. The Bible said iron what? Sharpeneth iron. Okay? Now, no man is an island. I understand. If I cannot say, the Bible said, ask and it shall be what? Seek, knock. So we cannot be bashful as a family. And first and foremost, we must identify ourselves as family members, because we are in a brand new race. Okay? So nothing is wrong with being asking, nothing is wrong in knocking, nothing is wrong in seeking, and that has to do with both the spiritual aspect of things, of life, and the physical aspect. If I don't have a night's dinner, I am going to open my mouth and say, can one of you buy me some dinner? I do not have a night's dinner. It is okay. I am among family members. Do you understand what I'm saying? If I want to travel to Little Rock to get an interview, and I don't have the means or the money or whatever, and you want to travel, you should be able to understand that we are family, and we ask for assistance. Okay? Nothing. If you need my car any hours of the night, call me up. I'll take it to you. I'm not using it while I'm sleeping. What do we do as small church? Huh? We love people. That's what God does. We love people and use things. You know, I'm emphasizing on that. We don't love money and use people. No, that's not what we do. We love people and use money. Money is important. And it is a medium through which we get things and exchange goods or money and all things. But what we need to understand is that the genuine, somebody was saying, is healthcare a privilege and a right in this country? Is it a privilege or a right?
Privilege is a right for what?
Is it a privilege to get healthcare or a right to get healthcare? Is it?
I believe it's a privilege.
It's a privilege because of how human beings, because of the economy, and you have to buy into it. But healthcare should be a right. I was in personal finance and he's asking me if it's a privilege. I said it's a right. Why? He asked me why. Because it's the human thing to do. You understand what I'm saying? But because in this country you have to buy health insurance and buy all this, it's a privilege. It shouldn't be a privilege, it should be a right. In my country, anybody have an accident on the road, I'm going to make sure that they survive that accident. Not by the condition of the cost, because that person's a human being. You can't challenge me on this. But God, we're talking about small churches ministry. and looking on we will always have small churches. We look on those things. Majority of ministers will preach to a small congregation. We have more small churches than anything in the world, especially in countries where Christianity is oppressed and Christianity is marginalized and even sanctioned by death. And they have to worship in secret. They have to worship in their burkini, in their veils. Call them Muslim Christians, because it's a Muslim country. It's by law that the women veil their faces. So even though they are Christians, they cannot unveil. You know, we call did you know that? We have Muslim Christians. They are Muslim. They're in a Muslim country, but they are worshiping Jesus Christ. Okay? We look on that small churches are not an excuse and must replace excuses with purposeful declaration. Just because we don't have a dynamic worship leader does not mean we'll settle for passionless worship. Okay? And so I enjoy worshiping every Sunday here. The guys came in one Sunday evening and we had a wonderful singing for the time that we are here. Okay? We are not, because we are few in numbers, we are not less in worshiping or less at being acceptable by God. God is going to accept our what? Our worship. He accepts our worship. God accepts Noah's faithfulness and his family's faithfulness. That's why they were saved. God accepted Abraham's faithfulness. That's why I told him to get out of the land of Ur of the Chaldees with all of these idols and gods. And because he followed God faithfully, he was awarded such a lot. And his daughters, they were saved because they followed the Almighty God. No matter the number, you can be saved, church. You and I can be effective. So, what are some of the ways in which we can be strategic? Go to page 4. See it? Page 4, strategic. Look under that. What it says. Small church being strategic.
The church is small because you're equipping the new. Small church people, you're not stuck, you're strategic.
Okay.
Continue.
And somebody else can read. Somebody else read. I want you to read aloud. I want you to grasp this. I don't want to run over the information. Because the thing is, knowledge is good, but application is another thing. When we apply the knowledge, then we start to have a workable church. And not it makes no sense teaching us, giving us all this information. I want you to grasp it. I want you to have it. That is why I'm doing this kind of a refresher memory thing.
You can be small but healthy.
You can be small but healthy. There you go. I want you to read it back to me. Communicate it back to me. Small and healthy. And that means you are strategic. Yeah, small and healthy. And when you know you're healthy, one of the one of the things when I know when I am healthy is that people start to give us commendation and thanks. You know? Yeah. They were thankful the way how we served Sister Ruby's at Sister Ruby's funeral and when we visited the sick, you know? They are thankful. That's not an empty congregation. Means we are doing something. Look at those things. We are doing something, church. Anything else? All right, the third one, and Brother Anthony said we need to try and cut some overhead costs.
Still red. Simplify life.
Yeah, some simplify so that we can save a little more. So that is being strategic. That is being healthy. All right. Now the next one, if your church is small, in order to reach a culture where big churches can't go, you are not stuck. You are strategic. All right. So some of these big mega churches, they are in the city. You hardly find them in the what? In the rural areas. We are in the rural grassroots.
This ain't cool.
Uh,
500 people here. Big city.
all right, there you go. But even though Searcy is 20 what? 20 minutes away from Pangor, you'll find people going to where? To Searcy to worship. Instead of coming here and evangelize. There are still people in this area that need evangelism. I was at awe when I went to the 4th of July thing and see the amount of people there. A lot of people there, a lot of kids. Just for us to reach them. All right? If your ministry and your church finds its greatest kingdom effectiveness within a smaller setting, you're not stuck, you're strategic. There are some people that can't function in the city. They just can't. But let them loose in this area, you'll see how much they are. Why did I say something wrong?
No, it's an image in my head.
Okay. Yeah, but that's a fact. There are some people, they are lifeless in a city. They don't know what to do. But in an area like this, they are in their natural habitat. And they know what to do, they know to reach people, they know to help people. It's a fact. They are not stuck, they are strategic. They can function properly here rather than functioning. Sometimes there are some dynamics too, because I said that in the principle of a large congregation, the way how things are set up, it's kind of a more sophisticated kind of a way, if you understand what I'm saying. Alright? And Mr. Johnson down the road, he never wore a necktie or jacket in his life. You put that in and he becomes petrified and scared. You know, in a good way. You know, he just used to his, you know, his simple kind of life. But he can do wonders. He knows how to relate to the people. He knows that if their cow is stuck in the pasture, he doesn't have to take off much to go and help them to get the cow free from wherever the bush they're stuck in. So, you know, God, as I said, we can be strategic. We can use what we have and see a church want to come on board and help us with our ministry. I find that welcoming. I find that we can use whatever help and whatever resources that we're going to be at our disposal to champion the cause for Christ. To champion the cause for Christ. So always remember, even though we are small, God can use us. God used David to defeat the Philistines. Oh, you You have never read that story? Yeah? What this boy, this peasant? I'm gonna chop him up and feed him to the ravens or the wolves. But David came there with God, and the rest is history. He didn't have any armor on and all of that. And as a result, Saul became jealous of him because of the song. Saul killed thousands, but David killed tens of thousands, and and it goes on. But as long as God is in the vessel, we can smile out the storm. As long as God is with us, we can do wonderful things, church. And as I said, all things are possible with God. And I'm going to tell you again, I served at a congregation for 20 years. We never had any money in any account. When we take up the offering on a Sunday, I'm not telling you to do this, I'm just giving you an example. When we take up the offering on a Sunday, if somebody's sick, somebody's hungry, and we know beforehand, we are going to take care of them. And this continued for years. For years. Never had any money in the bank account. And the Lord Church moved forward. Alright? Different settings, a third world country. Here we have to do things above board, accountability. And we do take, the ancient day records, we would take those records every Sunday. But I'm just saying, once we have that faith in God and trust in God, God will take care of our needs going forward. Alright? Any questions? Any comment? I am going to suspend this. There's a new year coming in. Small. I'm going to go into a different direction. I would like the church's input. If what you want me, if you want me to teach on a particular lesson, if you want me to go into a particular direction in terms of lessons, for the coming year, it's going to be a different me in terms of moving forward. I'm not going to run past you. I am going to walk with you as best as possible, but I'm going to challenge us, and I want you to listen to the word us, including myself. Okay? I'm not going to challenge you alone, I'm going to challenge myself as we move forward to work on our spiritual lives, as well as how we view evangelism and how we view eternity as we breathe each day. So if you have a topic in mind, don't be afraid to let me know about it. I will explore it and see how best we can address it moving forward. Any questions? All right, we are truly happy to see you, Bob and Ken. I don't know if you guys know that he had an issue. He was in the hospital. Brother Bob?
Do what now?
Brother Ken. He was in the hospital.
How you doing, Bob?
Did you know? I don't know if you were aware that he was in the hospital.
No.
Yeah. He fell ill and he had to be rushed to the emergency. But he's with us this morning, so I'm just letting you know to keep him in your prayers as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know nothing about that.
Yeah, I think it happened.
I didn't know until it happened either,
Yeah.
Bob.
All right, so we will break and then we will continue our worship service. Thank you.